public hearings by law that have been appropriately advertised specifically to receive input from the public concerning meeting number 1, fiscal year 24 Fayetteville City School budget, and number 2 would be fiscal year 24 City of Fayetteville budget. Your concerns will be viewed as a serious effort on the part of the elected officials to secure as much information as possible before making a final decision. There will be no interaction with the elected officials to give you a full 3 minutes to voice your concerns. The timer on the podium will indicate your time, and we ask that you be respectful to the next speaker to give everyone equal opportunity. A sign-in sheet is in the back of the auditorium, and if you choose to speak, please sign in at this time. With that being said, we will call the public hearing for the fiscal year 24 for the Fayetteville City School budget. It is now open. Anyone to speak on the Fayetteville City School budget? Hearing none, we will close the public meeting. With that being said, we will now open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2024 for the City of Fayetteville budget. And the board will recognize at this time Mr. John Law.
Yes, I'm getting the party going.
Just 1 second, let me get this started.
Do I hit
Okay.
this to get it going, or?
I will. There you go. Maybe not.
I'll start.
Wait just a minute,
I'd rather
John.
Speak to these folks.
John, hold on 1 second. Zach, it's not.
I wonder exactly.
Hold on, John, this one. Sorry.
Okay. We're here
It's okay.
to discuss, is it working now? Okay, I need 7 more seconds. Just exactly what I feel about what's going on. I just don't even know where we got here with regard to taxes. The only thing I could point to is that the city aldermen have really mismanaged a lot of money. I'm not sure that anybody knows the amount of money that the city makes, or I should say spends, on expenses that would take care of the city. But when you look at the amount that we spend per 1,000 people, we've got 7,000 people here in the city limits, it comes out to $1,867 per 1,000. Now that doesn't sound like a lot of money until you compare it to the neighbors that we have. We're twice as expensive as Winchester. We're 3 times more expensive than Giles County. We spend more than Marshall County and Franklin County. And Franklin County was 4 times as much money. So one would ask, do they have higher taxes? Because their cities look really good. If you go to some of these towns, they look really good. They're well paying. But that's not the case. If we pass this tax and the county goes along with it, we will have the 5th largest tax rate in the whole state of Tennessee. There will be 4 above us. They're all in Shelby County, Memphis, Collierville, Germantown. So when I say we've had poor management in the last several years, just take a look at it. One big chunk of money that they misspent, in my opinion, was ARPA money. That was COVID money given to the state or the cities. And it came out that they spent, instead of buying it for the fire truck that they were also worried about and spending it for the fire truck, they spent it on a soccer field, which was 1.5 million, another $1 million across the street for lights for a city that has no ball league. And then that left no money except for about $750,000 to the other departments. So when you look at everything, you look at the parks, you look at the sidewalks, you look at the roads, where is the money going? And we don't know, because they're misspending it all over the place. But I will say that this board has a really good deal of, or way of using the ing words, I call them. They're always thinking, they're always evaluating, they're always analyzing, they're always trying, they're always studying. But rarely do they use the action words like doing, completing, acting, deploying, assembling, and enforcing. We are really in a bind when it comes to when these folks come and spend money and then they come back to us on taxes. That tells me that we're in trouble. They make the mistakes, we're accountable for it. So that's all I have to say.
Next up is Mr. Steve Halberg.
I just wanted to say that my wife and I are both retired. We live on a limited income. There are many things that we would like to do, but we can't because we don't have the money to do it. And we can't go tax somebody and get more money and throw it away. There has been a lot of money wasted by you all. I understand there was a consulting company that came down from Nashville, I think, that got an absorbent amount of money to assess the square. What'd they do? Did they tell you to cut down the trees? Because it looks like hell now. It looks awful. The parks and recreation. There was somebody hurt the other day at the park out here on 64 going towards Winchester. We're paying over $300,000 a year for staff at Parks and Recreation. The park out here where the soccer field is in disarray and there's no lights. With all this money that's been spent, it's ridiculous. You guys need to reel in your pocketbooks instead of trying to drag it out of ours, because I'm at the point right now, if my taxes go up any more living in the city and getting hit by the city and the county, I'll sell my house and move. I love it here, but I will move. I'm fed up. We can't afford anymore. And I think everybody here will agree, we can't afford any more taxes. I understand people got to have raises. You suggested, Mayor Hartman, to give a 3% raise. Give them a 3% raise or 5%. Don't raise our taxes 35% or 35 cents. That's ridiculous. We're not Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, which is we have been compared to in the mysterious survey. Those people have millions of dollars in tourism coming into them. We don't have that here. Y'all need to learn how to live on what you have and try to tax us to death to frivolously spend this money. There's been a lot of things a lot of money been thrown away for naught, and it's got to stop. Thank you.
I've lost internet connection on the timer, so timekeeper will be in the back. And next up, we have Ms. Hannah Faulkner.
Good evening. Again, my name is Hannah Faulkner, and I'm here representing the Humane Society. I'm Vice President of the Board of the Humane Society and have been since last fall. I'm here to specifically discuss the Humane Society vehicle that I got involved in July of last year, and I had emails going all the way back to July asking for help regarding a specific animal control vehicle. And I hear on a weekly basis, you have a brand new Sprinter van sitting in your parking lot that says Humane Society on the side of it. And I discussed this in both budget meetings, but that van was a gift to the Humane Society via a life insurance policy from someone who left that certain amount to go to the nonprofit. That vehicle has been used and is still currently being used for animal control purposes because we do not have a functional vehicle to perform animal control duties. We do have a 2009 a 14-year-old Ford F-150 that is not reliable, does not have seat belts. It is the old dog catcher truck that has no ventilation in the back, and animals have to literally be picked up and brought to face level to be put into those boxes. We have gone back and forth with city and county. We were told in January that there was a van literally sitting parked in the city garage that could be used for animal control purposes. And we have since been pushed and pushed and pushed on being allowed to use that van. And I understand wanting to wait for bids coming in the fall. And if somebody takes over, outbids us on animal control, that van can go to animal control. We are just begging at this point to please help us with a vehicle for animal control. Again, we are doing the job, we're performing the job. Our Humane Society van is being used because the truck, while it is running, is truly not a functional vehicle for animal control. So we are at a point where we are literally begging for help with the animal control vehicle at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm not sure about the last name, Nolan Williamson. Sorry.
My name is Kay Williamson. I'm a citizen of Fayetteville. And I am the grandmother of the child that got injured in the kids' park last week. I'm here with these pictures. This is the picture of the slide that my granddaughter put her foot through. The plastic slide at the kids' park. I want to know why the kids' park remains open. This is another picture at the kids' park. This is right where my granddaughter went down, right before she went down the slide. I want to know why the city continues to leave this park open so that grandchildren and children of this community are getting hurt in our city kids' park. It's called a kids' park because it's supposed to be safe. That park is nowhere near safe. Next, again, more pictures. There's sharp edges, broken things all over this park. This is supposed to be a safe place, not a harmful place for our kids. I'm asking the city to budget in, get the kids' park fixed, and until then, it needs to be closed. You can't tell me that another child's not going to get hurt on this same stuff. Somebody running through. These kids don't have like somebody out there really watching them. They're playing tag. My granddaughter's 8 years old. She's this tall and weighs 50 pounds. Imagine hearing her screaming with her foot stuck in the slide for over 3 or 4 minutes while me and another mother was trying to get her out. She told the other lady to call 911. I'm very upset because I take my kids to that park 3 to 4 times a week. It's right down from my office. I've never had an issue with the city. I don't have any troubles. I just want the park maintained. There's no reason any child in this city should get hurt at our city park where they should feel safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ben Smith.
Thank you for allowing me to stand in front of you and voice my concerns, and because I just wanted to give you a piece of my mind. From an early age, my father used to always tell me, foolish names and foolish faces always showed up at the foolish times and places. And I think there's been no more evident truth of that than the past few weeks, what's been spread on social media about our city leaders, about other citizens, and some of it from even past leaders. But I know nobody cares what my dad told me but I just want to remind everybody what our Father has told us. Matthew 12:36, on the day of judgment, people will give an account for every careless word that they speak. And that was said by Jesus. Colossians 3:17, whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and give thanks to the Father. Now, I know this isn't a church, and in this day and time, what God thinks is not really thought much upon, and that's a whole nother story, but maybe I can water it down. Everything we do should not be for our own personal gain. It should be for the betterment of our neighbors, for the ones sitting beside us, and sitting in this setting, it should be for the betterment of our city. And I think too many people have their own personal pride ahead of their neighbors. And too many people have been pointing fingers at you all whenever, if they really think about it, even if they have a disagreement with you or have, a legitimate complaint with one of you, they need to sit down and think that their neighbor might have voted for you or their family member might have. We need to remember that we're all family here, and that's what makes Fayetteville City so special. City leaders, thank you for taking your time away from your families to come here and do this hard job that many of us don't want any part of. So thank you for doing that, and I just ask you to do what's best for the city of Fayetteville, your neighbors, and our kids to come, because that's what all matters.
Next up is Doug Deal.
I'd like to thank you again for this opportunity. And of course, it's always hard to follow and act like that. We're supposed to be gracious, which puts me in a hard spot, but joking. You might be able to tell by my accent, I'm not a native Tennessean. Born and bred in Wisconsin. I spent most of my life out west. And we moved here to be close to my son, who always wanted to live in this part of the country, medically retired from the Army from wounds in Iraq. So he's our wounded, warrior that we want to be closer to be able to help out. So we chose this town in this area. We love the country. We love the people here. But I got to say, if we do the same things that occur in other parts of the country that create bad situations, we will create the same situation. I could go through dozens of cities throughout this country that have gone high taxes, high bureaucracy, high spending. And here's the interesting part. They never in 60 years have solved any of their problems. They don't seem to ever solve the problems. And so the problems go on, the budgets go in, you have Baltimore, Chicago, St. Louis, you have Memphis. All of them have high capital expenditures, high taxation. People tend, like me, instead of moving in, I'm looking around, my taxes are far higher than they were in Arizona. And our facilities, our city facilities in a small town outside of Phoenix, were phenomenal. And we had good public services. So I'm not saying everything is wrong. What I'm saying is high taxes and high expenditures don't solve everything. As a matter of fact, you'll see a lot of times they'll say, oh, we need more money for the public schools. And then you find out 8 or 9 out of the hires are all bureaucratic people. And you get 1 teacher and you get 8 bureaucrats. Same thing in the police. I love my police. But if they're sitting in the office and they're not on the road, you can hire 10,000 of those people and it won't improve a darn thing. And then we say we can't pay the teacher. Well, of course not, because we're paying for all the bureaucrats. And I have seen this happen many times over the last 50 years of my life when I moved to different places. And I'm just guaranteeing everybody, you don't solve all the problems. This is some of the highest. My property taxes on a house twice this size was half as much as I'm paying here. It ain't magic. It's math. And if you hire and spend like you do in other places, you will get the same results. And you will also get unfunded liabilities that will break. Everybody know unfunded liabilities? You just pay more and more, hire more people, and then suddenly you're spending 70, 80% of your budget for retirement programs. And you can't afford it. And the plumber and the ditch digger and the retirees are going to be the people that have to try to pay for it.
Sir, I think your time is up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm. Next up is Fletcher Smith. There should be a timer there in front of you, Mr. Smith.
I see it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to first start off by agreeing with Mr. John Law. I think the concern is how we got here. The problem is we are here, okay? And I want to say this about this current board. They had nothing to do with this. If you guys go back and watch the numbers, we've been getting to this point since 2010. I have spoken to everybody neglected what I said. So I'm going to go through some things. In 2014, actual property rate of property taxes were 2.5 million. 2017, it was 2.6 million. 2020, 2.8 million. And these are, this is how we get our money, okay? So that hasn't gone up really over this time period from 14 to 2020. Sales tax has gone from 1.7 to 2.5 to 2.6. Now, what I want to tell you guys is salaries went from 2014 to 380,000, 2017 to 461,000, 2020, 650,000. $200,000 jump. Health insurance benefits went from 39,000 to 59,000 to 95,000. Okay, I want to tell you that I've lived in three of the cities that Mr. Law was talking about: Germantown, Bartlett, and Cordova. Okay, so I do understand that those cities, and I understand what's going on in those cities. I also agree that the past boards have had a lack of civic responsibility. I want to apologize to the city because I already talked to Mr. Law. For those of you who think that me and Mr. John Law have an issue, okay, but one word that he missed was blaming. And that's the problem right now. Everybody wants to blame everybody instead of deal with the problem. Mrs. Faulkner, I'm 110% agreement with what you said about the Humane Society. I helped build Olive Branch, South Haven, G-Town, and Fort Smith, Arkansas Humane Societies. Easy to do. I've shared ideas. Nobody thinks my ideas are worth a flip. We need responsible controls. I agree with Mr. Ben Smith. Awesome scriptures. Doug Dale, I agree with you. Mayor, I want to tell you, I commend you because I don't believe anybody else is able to come into the present situation and fix it. And we as the citizens, we have to decide whether we're going to keep the blaming or we're going to fix it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lori Stonebreaker.
I only have 8 seconds.
He'll reset that for you. You have 3.
Okay, well, I appreciate everything y'all said because my hat's off to you. I think this town is divided, and it's divided because we have a county and we have a city. And I live in the city, but yet I pay county taxes. I'm only getting a retirement from my deceased husband, and I'm a widow living on a low income. And I can't see having to pay both. I don't know why you guys can't get together and have one mayor, one of everything. Why do we have to have 2 of everything? I believe in having a sheriff's department for the county and the police for the city. I have no problem with that. That's what we did where I came from, but I never paid both city and county. It's highway robbery. Thank you. And I don't know how you guys can solve this problem, except that the people living in the city should only pay city tax, and the people in the county should only pay county tax. That way, if you want to raise your city tax, and I live in the city, by all means, raise the damn stuff. If I lived in the county and you were charging city, I would be just as outraged as I am. And that's all I have to say. I just hope you take it into consideration what you're doing to the people of Fayetteville, Tennessee, whether it's county or city. You got to stop dividing us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak, Pamela Taines.
Good evening. We're relatively new here, a couple of years now, came from Arizona. And I got a really stupid question for all of you. How is it you can rationalize putting in lighting at Don Davidson Park to the tune of 1.7 million? That's the last I heard, could be wrong, it's not an awful lot. Meanwhile, our essential services, our police, our fire workers, our maintenance people, the people who take care of the parks, all our recreation centers, our animal shelter, completely unserviced. It is an embarrassment to live in this town. How does that happen that you could spend the money on that and not spend the money where we really, really need it? It just defies all logic. And I got two words for you: greater good. That's what you're in office for, the greater good. Thank you.
That completes the list for tonight for the folks that have signed up to speak. At this time, we will close the public hearing and we're going to take a 10-minute break.